Thanks for tuning in to more college football talk on the Our Football Network. It's the Rutgers Football Report following easily the worst loss of the season and easily the worst loss of the new Greg Schiano era into year two. As Rutgers gets beat up by Ohio State, and now it's on to Michigan State. We have both our leading analysts on at the same time. I can't believe it. So anybody was looking forward to two shows this week, it ain't happening because we're going to get them both on the same show. Ryan, how's everything going?
Good. Yeah, I saw a Giants win, a Jets win, and a Yankee win on the same day. So I don't know. It's like 2007 or something in New York all over again.
And Richie, wasn't it just last week that you were saying that someone on the radio said that Rutgers was the leading football team in the area?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case anymore after this past weekend. It was ugly, very ugly.
All right, guys. So yeah. I don't know. It was one of those games. You could tell right away with the fake punt, and I don't know which show we talked about this last week, but I think it was, who was it that did it at NJ.com? Was it Pilati who mentioned it? That enough with the tricks, and it's the truth. Enough with the tricks, okay? And I don't want to hear you saw something. You tricked the hell out of them last year. Don't you think they were going to be prepared for you? So. Not that really had a whole lot to do with it, but it was just another one of those situations where it's just as soon as it happened and they failed and Ohio State got the 50-yard touchdown run, it was like, okay, what else is on?
Yeah, I'm going to confess here, even though I have this podcast and I need to watch every play of every game, I did not watch the second half live.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it just, it felt fruitless. I've seen too many of those games, whether it's, the Chris Ash era or the Kyle Flood era or the early Greg Schiano first era. I've seen too many of those games where it gets away from them in the first quarter. And Greg, you and I were talking about this on our show last week. You said you thought, if I could get up and bow right now, I would, but I have pajama shorts on. You said you thought Rutgers was a better matchup with Ohio State
that was
than
wrong.
with Michigan. And I told you that was crazy because Rutgers doesn't have Michigan's looking to play ground and pound, keep the score down. Rutgers can win that game by forcing them into some mistakes. Rutgers can't beat Ohio State. They just don't have the open field athletes to compete with.
Well, and I agree with that.
That's why they got to go back.
The thing was, and I think even Schiano said it in the beginning of his press conference, he said, you had, I should have actually used the clip because he said, he pretty much said you had Ohio State heading this way and now we're heading that way. And then there you go. And that's exactly what happened. Because if Ohio State was playing like this earlier in the season, we don't get that game. But they are now playing the best football. They're now peaking and rising. Rutgers coming off the loss and just blod their worst performance of the season at the worst time. But I do agree, moving forward, Richie, I will now look at this matchup, and unfortunately it happens to be the toughest team in the conference, as Rutgers' worst matchup. I just forget it. No matter how good Rutgers is, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to beat Ohio State.
Isn't that what I told you? I told you the guy from Columbus.com wrote a story last year or 2 years ago that in his lifetime he doesn't think Rutgers will ever beat Ohio State, and you laughed at me and said that was
they'll
crazy.
Beat them, but they're not going to be able to.
I don't know.
They're not going to be able to see if, like I said before, if Indiana can compete with them and all those other teams that are on the level where Rutgers can get to, then Rutgers should be able to compete with them.
Well, competing isn't.
But
beating.
I don't even think Rutgers can compete with them. I just think it's a terrible matchup.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, just because, I guess Ryan kind of brought it up, but they'll never compete, I don't think, because I don't think they'll ever be able to recruit the same way that Ohio State does in the trenches, especially. Yeah. Ohio State's getting these big 300-pound guys, left and right, and then you have Rutgers getting the 260-pound tackle that was underrated. So it's tough. It's tough to, you can't break into that blue blood recruiting that easily. It's going to take a while, and it's going to mean consistently good seasons I want to say like eventually they might get there. They'll get a couple gems here and there. Holland Pierce, for example, true freshman, came out of nowhere, preferred walk on. Now he's a starter. So I mean, yeah, you'll find gems here and there, but end of the day, it's hard to break that talent gap.
But that is I think where they're going to have to compete against those teams. It's not Rutgers will ever compete with Ohio State with the talented skill position players, and that's not what it's going to take. Because again, if you're talking about the Michigan States and the Indianas of the world, or even the Northwesterns a little bit, they don't have those types of athletes, and they've competed against Ohio State, but they're much better in the trenches. They're much better in the front seven on defense. They're much bigger. They can handle that physicality. And Rutgers, I don't know, maybe we'll get there one day, but it's going to be a long time.
I mean, it doesn't help when your top cornerback's out here shooting paintballs at people.
That didn't help.
That's true.
Yeah.
No. How often do those teams really beat Ohio State?
No, not very often at all. No.
When was the last time Indiana football? They were started the season in the top 20. I'm going to try to look it up as we talk. Indiana football last win against Ohio State. When was it, honestly? And they've been decent now for a while. When's the last time
actual win?
Actual win. Not like, they pushed them to the fourth quarter. When's the last time they beat them?
See if I have any of this stuff in here. They've won 26 straight against Indiana.
Okay, so
the last loss was in 1988.
Okay, so we're talking maybe Rutgers could beat them once every 35 years.
Ohio State's beaten Michigan State 27 out of 34. That's a little bit more realistic. And Michigan State doesn't have like all this great unrealistic talent. But
I mean, Michigan State beat them in 2013, but Michigan State was top 10, so it's like
exactly.
Ohio State won has a 45-7 over Minnesota, including the last 11 and 39 of the last 42. So, I
mean, minus the Oregon game, they haven't lost a regular season game since 2018. It's like they're just a phenomenally good team.
Yeah.
And the talent matches everybody.
It was just, look, we even talked about this, Richie. There was this possibility. And we said that, and it was like, it could happen. And if it happens, it's going to be tough to handle. But it happened. And look, when I see Tennessee score 60 points against Missouri and Pittsburgh clobbered Georgia Tech when they couldn't even beat Western Michigan, I'm going, well, you're going to have these Saturdays. It happens. And when it happens to Ohio State, the deal, though, is, Ryan, how do they respond? Because this is now a realistic team that they're competing against this week. But the confidence, how much has the confidence been, and considering this team, it wants revenge after what happened to them last year, and they're undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a question for Richie, really. I mean, I'm fascinated by that because I've had this game circled on the Rutgers calendar as the biggest game of the year, even before we know how the first 5 played out. Because to me, it's a litmus test game. You beat them last year. The last 20 years or so, they're a much better program than you. The styles are friendly. The style is friendly for Rutgers. So to me, it's a game that Rutgers, if they're a bowl team, they have to win this game. And if they lose this game close, then maybe they're still there. And if they get blown out, well, then forget it. They're not going to a bowl game. They're finishing 4-8 or 5-7. So Richie, you're at practice. You're in the game. What do you think? How are they going to respond to a punch in the mouth?
I'm intrigued. I know they definitely it definitely hurt a lot to lose 52-13, and I think they scored 6 points in the first half. It's not easy to come back from that, and you lost a lot of momentum too. But on the flip side, Michigan State this year is really good. They had an influx of transfers. I think they had at least 10 to 12. I think it was at the end of the day from the transfer portal. Peyton Thorne at quarterback this year has been phenomenal. 11 touchdowns.
Michigan State's a better team. There's no question about that.
Oh, no, 100%. Kenneth Walker, the running back transfer, leads the nation in rushing yards. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be really, really tough to beat this team. A lot of people keep talking about how last year, this game, they destroyed them last year. But that was the first game of a weird not COVID season, whatever you want to call it. There wasn't training camp really, but there was like the season got canceled, came back, blah, blah, blah. But it was such a weird first game, and I think a lot of teams were still adjusting at that point. And now I think you turn to this year and you look at this Michigan State team, and they are just very, very good offensively. And they're pretty decent defensively, too. They're only giving up around like 19 points per game.
You haven't been around. It's too early in the week. You haven't been around the team yet since the loss, have you?
Yeah, we were there yesterday, and well, Chris was there today.
What did you gather? The difference from what you saw from this?
He said it's still the same, like everyday practice. There's nothing really too different. They're not going to change anything.
So you didn't really get a feeling that they were coming off this huge.
No. I think it's kind of like you move past it, but you can't move past it too quickly because you want to like build on and learn what you did wrong, build on that, and try to fix a couple things. But I think there was a couple mistakes throughout the game. I questioned going for it on fourth down, fake punt in your own territory, and then first drive, like, not that good, but. I think there's it's the same as every other week. It's nothing too different.
Oh,
that's a staple of a Schiano program. Is nothing different, and it reminds me of, obviously it all comes from his friendship with Bill Belichick is, and I covered Joe Judge, who's a Belichick disciple, and they have a huge win on Sunday, and we all want him to go in and say, "Told you so, we're on the right track, this is the win we needed, what a great game." And it's just like, all right, the process, blah blah blah, I'm gonna watch the film, and Daniel Jones was amazing. No, I'm gonna watch the film before I answer that question. So same kind of thing with Schiano. They ain't gonna take victory laps when they have a big win, and they ain't gonna press the panic button when they lose.
You mentioned Peyton Thorne, and this is the type of, and hopefully Rutgers has that in Wimsatt. This is the type of quarterback that Rutgers needs to have moving forward. We picked apart Vedral all year. And last week, the last game against Michigan, and the last actually couple of games were pretty good, his best games. And then he has the bad Vedral game. And he also, by the way, on that pick six, wound up getting Bo Melton hurt, which I just can't stand. If I'm a coach, I know it's instinct, but I especially hate it when a quarterback throws the interception and he tries to make the tackle. If I'm the coach, I'm going, dude, I know it's in your nature. You throw an interception, get the hell out of the way. You're too important to the team. I don't want you trying to tackle anybody. But it's unfortunate. I don't know, Melton, whether he plays or not, that's a huge difference in the game against Michigan State. But my point with Vedral is this is the bad Vedral. This is what we're trying to talk about when we're trying to get over the top and win these types of games against Michigan State. They're going to have Thorne. We're going to have Vedral, and that's probably going to be the difference in the football game.
I mean, if that's the difference, I think end of the game right there. Like, that's Peyton Thorne is by far the better quarterback, and it proved it last week too. Like, Noah Vedral just didn't look good. The pick, I don't know if I could blame him too much for Bo Melton's injury, because it looked like Bo kind of got like truck sticked at the goal line.
I'm just saying he threw the interception. If he didn't throw it, he would have hurt. That's all.
Yeah, I know. He did, but,
I'm just jabbing him a little bit more.
But like I said, I think I've said this before to you. He's a game manager. He doesn't have a strong arm. He doesn't have the most accurate arm, but he can hit that tier 1, tier 2 area pretty well. And that's all you can kind of ask out of him. He's not going to turn it over too much, you would think, but I mean, this past week was pretty brutal. So
yep. Yeah. So what did you get a vibe at all regarding the injuries?
It doesn't. Greg said yesterday during the press conference that O'Neal and Melton are going through, I guess, rehab, if you can call it. There's no word on what's going to happen with them. I know in terms of O'Neal, when he got injured during the game, he was pictured on the sideline with a boot and street clothes right away. So I'm assuming he's not going to play, but he's only started 1 or 2 games this year. Like I said, they've been rotating tackles.
Yeah, he's not as important as Bo Melton.
Yeah, Bo Melton, I want to say, based on, I was on the sideline when the second injury happened, and it looked like he had a separated shoulder. I want to say, this is just assuming at this point, the first play that he got injured, I think he went to the sideline, they popped it back in, and then all of a sudden they put him back out, and I think it popped out again, and that's when I think they're like, all right, no risk, we're not doing this, like, just get out of the game. So I'm assuming he should be good to go. He might be sore, obviously, but that's just an assumption at this point. They don't really reveal injuries at all in college, especially at Rutgers.
And
you would know that, Ryan.
Yeah, I certainly do. What, Richie, keep the audience up to date. What's the story with Malachi Melton and the other suspended player. Any chance they're back this week, or are we looking at long-term suspensions?
I'm hearing long-term right now. It's Malachi Melton and Chris Long. They I heard it won't be settled until the whole like court case thing is settled. Once that's settled, then they'll probably come back. Now, in terms of when that's going to be, I don't know if there's a date yet for like anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I submitted an Oprah request for the police report, and we still haven't got it. And they actually got an extension, or requested an extension yesterday, so October 8th. I don't know if that's going to be the date, maybe or not, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I don't expect him back. He got removed from the depth chart this past week or this past Monday, so I'm assuming he's probably done for a little bit longer at least. Yeah. But he's your top cornerback. Like you can't kick him off the team.
I mean, you can. We've seen it before.
You can, but it's just
we've seen it before. I mean, it depends what he did. You certainly can.
Yeah, family connections.
Yeah, the family connections will save him a little bit, I would think. I mean, it all depends on what happened. But Ryan, I know we were deducing what happened a couple of weeks ago, me and Richie, and I'm just guessing, and I'm just saying
that's not my style. I'm not.
No, I'm just saying. Okay, this is what you hear.
Yeah.
And to me, what you hear are two kids that are teenagers that are goofing around. Because, again, nobody's pressed charges. So they're probably goofing around with the paintball gun, driving by, and, oh, look, this is funny. And you're going to get in trouble for that. And you should get arrested for it. But how serious is it? That's what we'll find out. My guess is it's not going to be a whole lot. It's not going to be long term. Maybe it'll be the whole year. But I don't think it's going to kick him off the team.
I don't deduce, I don't guess when it comes to Rutgers crime. I've covered, 40 Rutgers football player arrests. I was at the peak of it.
Damn.
I was at the peak of it when they had the whole secondary was arrested.
Yep.
So that
was Kyle Flood era.
A lot of talented people.
Yeah. 13, 14, 15, the whole secondary was arrested.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna guess or whatnot. You just don't know till you find out the police report.
Yeah. So waiting on that, but we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see on the 8th. Who knows?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Richie, tell me something. I have you on the call here. It has nothing to do with this week. It has nothing to do. Well, actually, it kind of does.
Okay.
You're the recruiting expert. You know me, even when I was on the beat, I didn't pay much attention to recruiting. How are they recruiting in Florida? Is it still as much of an emphasis for them as it was Greg's first time? Do they have a lot of commitments from Florida? Because that, to me, is where they really built up the athleticism advantage in the Big East. And that, to me, is the only chance they have of ever really competing with Ohio State, is to get the Florida caliber athletes. How are they doing in Florida? Is it as much an emphasis, or is it not?
No, I'd say it's definitely a big emphasis, but they're doing so well with the tri-state area, or the state of Rutgers, as Greg likes to call it. So, I mean, there's no real reason to go down there as much anymore, but they are still hitting up Florida quite a bit. Last year, they had 3 commitments out of Florida. Technically 2, because one was a New Jersey transfer that transferred to Florida. But
yeah, that's low by their standards for the area.
Yeah, no, it is. But this class, they have a 4-star wide receiver in Marion Brown out of Martin County down in Florida. Very good player. He's been overall, Greg's been recruiting Berkeley Prep quite a bit, his former volunteer assistant job where his sons both played. They have Joshua Youngblood, who came out of there. Who else? Mayan Hanatu. So they're always going to keep hitting up Florida. But, I mean, as long as you keep recruiting New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania pretty well like they've been doing, there's not a whole lot of a reason to really go down there anymore.
I just don't know if you would know this better than I do. I don't know if you can get the same level of athlete in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania as you can in Broward County. So.
It's tough because New York's gotten a lot better in football recently. Pennsylvania, the Philly area, has been getting a lot better. The Imhotep charter schools producing a ton. I'm trying to think who else is down there. LaSalle College High School is producing a ton. Maybe not the same exact athlete, but they'll still hit up Florida occasionally. Like I said, they already have a 4-star wide receiver commit out of Florida, and most people tend to think 2 stars in Florida are 3-4-star caliber athletes. But now you got a 4-star out of Florida. It's all right, they're on to something. But yeah, they'll still recruit Florida. But overall, the recruiting class is still top 30 right now. Ton of offensive linemen, ton of weapons from all over. Kind of, it's weird.
those offensive linemen have a chance to play pretty early.
I mean, at this rate, I would think so. Gus Zelinskis, who was a 2-star out of Colorado last year, is the backup center now. So,
wow,
that's not good.
Yeah, it's
is
they
the 2022 class still rate better than any class he's had?
No, not anymore. They suffered a decommitment. I was telling you guys earlier, they suffered a decommitment today in Davison Igbinison, whose older brother is actually on the team, and it would probably be the first Union kid they lost that they wanted since probably in the 90s at this point. They've built a good pipeline there, but he decommitted, so that hurt the class ranking. Gavin Wimsatt reclassed and enrolled early, so that hurt the ranking. Now they're at, I'm looking at it now. Now they're at 34. So, I mean, it's still up there, but I think that 2012 class was top 25 somewhere.
Yep, it was. Yep, so, 23 if memory recalls.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, it definitely hurt to lose those two. But, I mean, you didn't really lose Wimsatt because he just enrolled.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, it's not as high as it was, but it has potential still. It's only 14 commits at the moment. But it's still going to be a small class. They'll probably get up to like 16, 17. But based on all the super seniors now that don't count towards eligibility, it's been really tough to like make that number of scholarships work.
Keep in mind, as far as this matchup with Michigan State, the Spartans have lost the yardage battle the last 2 games against Nebraska and Western Kentucky. Nebraska's playing better. But they're more a defensive-minded team. Kentucky is more of an offensive-minded team. And Michigan State is 1-10 against the spread in their last 11. Ryan loves the historical trends, by the way. You can't get enough of them. 1-10 against the spread in their last 11 off double-digit ATS win. And they're 0-1 this year. They're a 5-point favorite, Michigan State. I thought the line should have been somewhere around over 7, 8, ish. I'm a little bit surprised that Rutgers is still getting a little bit of respect with that 5-point spread.
Is this for me or for Brian?
Either one of you.
I mean, the defense is still. It sounds weird to say after giving up 46 points in the first half, 45 points in the first half, but the defense is still pretty good. Like, they're a very good defense. The linebacking core is solid. It's going to be up to that defensive line to create some pressure on Peyton Thorne. If they don't, then I mean that point spread's going to be like
they got to stop Walker.
Why not?
That's what they got to do. They got to stop Walker.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can.
Yeah, I don't know if Walker's the issue anymore. I really think Peyton Thorne's going to be this issue for them. They just gave up 300 yards in the air to Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who of course are different people, but Peyton Thorne's been phenomenal this year. I'm really concerned about him more than anything. If they can't stop the game through the air, it's going to be really tough to win this football game.
After Michigan State, it'll be at Northwestern, and Northwestern is playing as bad as any team in the conference. And then after the off week, they're going to travel to Illinois, who is not a bowl team. Let's just put it that way. So if they could steal, and we even talked about this, me and Richie too, and I'm glad you concurred, because we talked about this being the biggest game of the year as well. And this was a couple of weeks ago. That's why this is the biggest game, because if they could win it with the schedule coming up, you're going bowling. It's just going to happen. If you lose it, you better win the next 2 against those 2 teams. Then you got 5 wins and you got a shot to steal a win at the end of the season. So, but if you lose this game, it's just that much harder.
Richie, this is going to make Greg's eyes roll because he doesn't like when I wade into the silliness. He's more of a X's and O's kind of guy. I'm more of a storylines atmosphere. Here we go. Keep chopping. What are your thoughts on this?
Hey, I'm the one that asked him the question yesterday.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was afraid I was going to get reamed afterwards, but whatever.
No, good for you. Good. That is, to me, that would have been my first question. I think. Good for you.
I thought it was a great storyline. Like all of a sudden, Mel Tucker just came out and started using "keep chopping" on. He hasn't tweeted it ever since September 5th this year, and it's like, all right, where'd you get it from, buddy? And apparently, it's from his days at Georgia with Kirby Smart or whatever, but. I get it, but you didn't use it until now.
Yeah.
So I don't know the whole entire backstory, but it sounds like Greg kind of seemed like a little pissed off in his answer. He was like, yeah, I got it back in 2005. Actually, I got it back in 99. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Throw a little shade at him. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do think it's Rutgers' mantra. Like, it's weird for a Big Ten team to take it, especially like if you were like a lower FCS, I could see you kind of mimicking like a higher level team and be like, all right, let's try to mimic them, try to be like that same culture. But for a rival Big Ten team in the same exact division of the same conference to do it, it's kind of like, what the hell are you doing?
Did it on purpose.
I agree.
Yeah.
You monitor the message boards. Are fans pissed about it, or are fans like whatever, just win the game?
No, I mean, I'd say they're pretty beyond pissed at this point. All kinds of tweets at Mel Tucker. If you look at Mel Tucker's like replies on Twitter, anytime he says keep chopping, I think the first 7 to 8 replies are Rutgers fans. And it's just like,
I love it.
It's insane, but I like that this is building into like a little bit of a rivalry.
Correct.
Because like obviously you're never gonna get like, I don't think Penn State and Rutgers will ever become rivals. Correct. Geographically, maybe it makes sense. I thought it would be more Rutgers Maryland, but now it's turning into like a Rutgers Michigan State. And hear me out, get like an Axe or something trophy. Be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I like it. Well, the Axe is already, I don't know, Minnesota and
is that what it is? Oh, that's Paul Bunyan's
Wisconsin.
Axe,
right? Yeah.
All right, get a
tree stump or something.
Yeah, there you go. Get a tree stump and have like an axe hanging out or something. Just make it something cool.
Well, hey, you know, it is a Spartan and a knight, so you got something there. They're similar mascots, so come up with something. I mean, you know, maybe like a sword or something. You know.
Hey. That'd be kind of good. I mean, they need to do something. I think eventually they will get a rivalry game with a trophy. I just don't know when. This could be the start of something, in my opinion.
Well, it would be nice.
I'm into the keep chopping thing. I'm glad the fans who used to ride me to no end on Twitter and my emails and criticize it, I'm glad they channeled that energy into Mel Tucker, because I think it's I would be on the, you know, this is total Bush League side. Like, pick something else, buddy.
Yeah. So. No, I totally agree with you. It's like a shady move, and I think I hate to say it, but I feel like it's definitely getting under like some of the guys' skins a little bit. So maybe that might give them another little edge for this weekend.
They need it.
A little chip on their shoulder.
Because you know he did it on purpose. I mean, there's no other explanation.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact they're competing on the recruiting trail too, so it's just more or less just trying to piss off Rutgers, I guess.
What time's the game?
12.
Noon start.
At noon.
Okay.
Yeah,
not bad. Get it over with early in. That's actually Rutgers is that only their second noon start?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
they played.
Delaware was 3:30. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good. And predictions as we close out. Ryan, prediction?
I'll pick Rutgers.
Oh,
give me Rutgers 24-21.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Richie?
24 points by Rutgers.
Yep.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah,
24, 21. Please don't say that.
I don't pick Rutgers often, but give me Rutgers. I think Greg coaches a heck of a game. I think Gleason comes up with some stuff that he hasn't put on film yet. If I know football coaches, like I think I know football coaches, they have some stuff they've been drilling at practice since training camp just for this opponent. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that'll be the difference.
Play.
I don't know. I'm indifferent on this one. I'm not sold after last week. It kind of got me thinking back towards my earlier season prediction of like 4 to 5 wins. I'm gonna go 27-17 Michigan State. I think that run game is ridiculous, and like I said, Peyton Thorne is so good, and I think a lot of people are underrating him. He's
they got the better quarterback, and they got the better running back.
Yeah, and the better probably offensive line.
Better team.
So that's the key.
Yeah, who has the better defense?
Probably Rutgers, actually. The more I think about it,
Michigan State.
It's concerning.
Vulnerable.
Like I said, it's concerning losing Max Melton, but you have Patrice Renee coming back, who's been fully healthy and started last week. But it's so tough because like you can play nickel, but then their run game, it's like, what do you do? Like their run game's phenomenal. You can play your nickel that you normally do, but you can't because the run game's got the best running back in the country.
Yeah. Well, I always think it's funny when I hear the names of one of these players. I feels like I haven't covered Rutgers football as a beat in a long, long time. And then I hear a name like Patrice Renee, who committed and then decommitted when I was on the beat. No, he must be older than you, Richie. What's Patrice Renee? He's got to be like 37 years old at this point.
37. He's probably like 24, if I had to guess.
24. Really?
Yeah. Hey, He's not older than me though. Like, relax. Relax.
Okay. Well, he better come up big. Jaden Reed is actually their number one receiver, also doubles as one of the top return men in the nation. So he'll be tough. Yeah. But yeah, Michigan State definitely kind of reminds me a little bit of a much better version of Syracuse, because Syracuse basically they wanted to run the football. They got that one good running back, and Rutgers did a good job of stopping Syracuse in that running game. Mm-hmm. If Rutgers can do that and force Peyton Thorne to throw the football more, that's what you want to do, because you can't have him do both, which is what Ohio State did. Then you're going to lose the game for sure. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll talk about it next week. Guys, I appreciate you doubling up this week. And especially you, Richie. I know we usually get you on later in the week, and you were able to squeeze this in early in the week.
Yeah, no problem at all whatsoever. I'm always open to joining the show.
And unlike you, Ryan and Ryan, we were able to change the channel at some point during the game. You actually had to stick it out there at the game with all the fans all the way through to the end. So I applaud you, man.
Hey, I'm not going to say I didn't have a different game on my laptop streaming, but I might have had a different game on my laptop streaming too.
I don't blame you. All right. Well, let's hope that's not the case on Saturday, because then it'll be a long rest of the season. Thanks, guys.
Yep.